Peace and love, family, coming at you again. This is your host, Monte. I want to welcome y'all back to the channel. Those of you who have made it back, thank you for your support. Those of you who are new, thank you for your support. And hopefully you'll stay around and listen to what it is that I'm trying to present to you. Always open up by saying that on my channel, I'm open for dialogue. So it's my opinion that no topic should be off the table. And anything that needs to be expressed, that has to be expressed, should be able to be expressed. And we should be willing and able to reason with one another. We don't have to agree, but we can reasonably disagree on things that we fundamentally disagree upon. With that being said, let's talk about the level of ignorance. And I'm speaking specifically in the black community, but it's ignorance across the board. But I'm specifically concerned with me and my grandkids and my kids and the exposure that they're doing and bringing about that may be having to perpetuate this ignorance that is manifesting itself in such a way that it definitely is a detriment to the growth, development, and the future elevation of black people within America, across the globe, as far as our relationship with ourselves and others. The issue or the concern I have is that it's deeper than just a choice to be ignorant. If you understand anything about genetics, you know that genes are passed on from the parent to the child. And this has a long line in our ancestry, so it goes way beyond your parent, beyond their parent, your grandparent, great-grandparent. All those characteristics are still passed on. They diminish as you get down the line, and the more prevalent ones are from your mother and your father. So with that being said, we know that the propensity of gene expression is passed on to the child. This doesn't mean that the child has to express the genes that they receive from their parents. And this is not just physical expression. This is also mental, emotional, and propensity type of expressions. Those things that your parents engaged in, that they did the most of prior to the conception of you. All these things have an impact on the genes. So what I'm saying is, and what I'm concerned about within the hoods of America specifically, but to a greater degree, it can be found anywhere. It's the expression and the continuing and the reproduction of genes that have the propensity to lead individuals towards the ignorance that we see being displayed primarily from the youth within a cultural acceptance of ignorance with no shame. Ignorance with a arrogant, disrespectful tone to it. Ignorance that is applauded, pretty much. You understand what I'm saying? And this is not just unique to us, no doubt about that. But again, I want to deal with us and the detrimental effect that it is continuously having generation after generation when it comes to development, the development of the development of some of us in the inner city communities who may be growing up in poverty. You know what I mean? There's a whole social dynamic to it that creates this type of environment where these things can be the dominant expression of individuals. So it's not just the individual. Again, it's a social construct that is involved in creating an environment that is likely to produce this type of behavior. But this type of behavior, again, is being pretty much, in my opinion, passed on in the propensity of genetic expressions from generation to generation now. This is why we can see such vile ignorance with no remorse, with no type of compassion, empathy, and actually, like I said, an embracement of that ignorance and a glorification of the ignorance. And this is unacceptable. So we have to start to realize that as parents, as grandparents, we need to educate our youth in a way. Inform them, don't educate them. Inform the youth in a way. Our youth, specifically the ones that are our kids, the immediate family, the cousins, and then spread it out. But give them information and give them an understanding that it's not just going to affect them, their behavior, but their behavior is going to give the propensity to their offsprings to be able to engage in that behavior easily. This doesn't mean that you will engage in behavior that your parents may have found and expressed in their behaviors before you, but the propensity is always there. Genes are not just passed on to give you the physical characteristics. Genes are also passed on with directions, with propensities, with emotional and mental things that we incline to, that our parents incline to, that we may incline to, and have the ability to express easily if we tap into that genetic expression that's already given to us. So we have to rise above just thinking that we just come onto this earth and then we decide to be ignorant or not. Yeah, it is a choice, but those choices are heavily influenced by those things that we receive from those who give it to us. And then we can overcome anything. And we cannot express those genes if we are able to rise above and educate ourselves, inform ourselves, and move to the next level and recognize whatever dysfunction that we may have that has been passed on us in a genetic sense, to speak. This doesn't mean anything about we genetically inferior. That is nonsense. Nothing about that. But there is the fact that genes do and will be passed on, and genes do have propensities. And if we're engaging in foolishness and ignorance, and we're glorifying that and accepting that as being the norm, and we're having children, we're going to produce the propensity in our children to be able to do that easily. That doesn't mean that they will, but given the right environment, meaning the same environment that you're in, that those genes are used to being expressed in, and you create a whole dynamic that has enormous consequence for generations to come. Let's rise up, let's stand up, let's become better. Peace, love, happiness. Love you.